Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Monster Hunter World. More specifically, we're going to be talking about the Charge Blade. And as with every weapon video that I'm going to be doing, this is intended to give you guys a couple of basic tips to get you started with a weapon. Maybe you've played it before, maybe you're just looking to add a couple of interesting combos to your repertoire, or maybe you're looking for a reason as to why you should use this specific weapon over any other weapon in the game. And I don't know. Maybe you'd like to do a combo like this to a monster. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is the super amped element discharge. It is one of the most satisfying moves to pull off in Monster Hunter World as far as I'm concerned. And it is just a friggin' visual spectacle. And as you guys know, I like explosions, and this particular weapon allows me to bring Thor and call thunder from the frickin' sky. So why the hell wouldn't I want to use that? Anyway, getting back to basics, before you get to that point of using this super amped element discharge, you'll want to know a couple of more mechanics about this weapon. So this is a weapon that can be used in Sword and Shield mode, or it can be used in Axe mode. Now, both of these have different advantages and disadvantages, such as while in Axe mode you move much slower than when in Sword and Shield mode. You can swap freely between these two modes by doing R2 and triangle to go into Axe mode, and then just pressing R2 again to go back into Shield mode. And shield mode, as you can see, much more mobile. And not only that, it also gives you a shield so that you can actually block oncoming attacks, which is pretty damn useful if you ask me. So how does this weapon work? Well, if you look to the top left-hand side of the screen right now, you will notice that there is a special gauge right below the durability gauge. Not durability, sharpness gauge, sorry about that. And that gauge has the symbol of a sword, the symbol of a shield, and the symbol of files. That means you can charge your sword, charge your shield, and charge your files. So that's a lot of things to keep track of. So let's start with how to charge your files and what do files actually do. Well, charging the files is pretty simple. All you have to do is be in Sword and Shield mode and hit things. You can use any attack you want. You can use circle, you can use triangle. Just hit things, and you'll notice that right now the files are yellow. That is half a charge, but we want to go full whammy, so we're going to go all the way to red. Now that they are red, you can charge, and basically that will fill up the entire files. And if you keep hitting stuff, eventually they will start glowing. And it's important to know this, because when they start glowing, you'll notice your weapon's all shiny and stuff, and you're like, oh my god, that means it's like supercharged. It must be dealing so much more damage now, right? Nope. Now all of your attacks will bounce. So what does that mean? Once you get to the first stage of red, you want to charge files. How do you charge files? You hold down R2, press circle, your files will charge. It's just like reloading a gun lance if you've watched the gun lance video. Now you have 5 files in this specific weapon. Certain weapons might have more, other weapons might have less, and there are skills in the game that will grant you additional files. But anyway, now that you have those files stored, Rurikhan, what are those files for? Well, now is when you want to swap into Axe mode. Okay, so in Axe mode you have your triangle attack. Now this attack is important before we get to the file portion of things. Why are these simple attacks important? Well, these give you a lot of reach, both in distance ahead of you as well as distance above you. So if you have a pesky little flyer that is just hovering right above you, you can use this to hit him. And it's an infinite combo. You can also use this to get the monster's tails. It's a very useful moveset for that type of stuff. Now, if you move forward and press triangle, you're also going to get a bit of distance in there, so keep these things in mind. This is a good gap closer. It's a good moveset, but ultimately, we haven't really gotten to the files portion yet. Well, when you start attacking by hitting circle in Axe mode, notice how that hit put out a little lightning and a little explosion. That right there was the file damage. So whenever you hit something in Axe mode with circle, you're going to be using files. Now, if you keep pressing it, 1 file, 2, 3, and eventually amped element discharge. So this is a weaker version of the first attack that I showed you. Why is it weaker? We'll talk about that later. But anyway, you now understand what files do. They increase the power of your axe and therefore you then go into axe mode to deal damage. So you play in sword mode to charge up those files. Once you're able to charge up those files, you switch to axe, and you can then discharge those files on a monster. That's the basic loop of this weapon. However, it's not always going to be advantageous for you to be in axe mode, because like I said, axe mode hampers mobility, so now you're going to be slow. So don't always think of it like, oh, I'm going to build 5 files and then I'm going to switch to axe mode. You only switch to axe mode when you know you have openings, when you know that you can hit the monster with axe mode without fear of repercussion. So again, monster's disabled, monster's tired, you can predict the next animation the monster is doing. Those are the situations where you want to be using your axe and discharging files. Going back into sword mode, we charged those files the first time around, but it was pretty slow. It took us quite a while to charge those files all the way. There is a faster way of doing that. Now, your circle attack in sword mode is actually a charged attack. But that was kind of weak, wasn't it? You charged it up and then it was like, It was not very impressive. Not a very impressive charged attack, wouldn't you agree? That's because you didn't use it to its full potential. This particular attack requires precision timing. So you need to let go of the charge button as soon as the charge is done. And now you get a charged double slash. So this is one of the most important moves to pull off with a charge blade, because this is going to fill your files faster, and it also allows you to go into different combos. Like, for instance, you can go like this, then press triangle, and you get a spinning slash. You can also go like this, then press triangle circle, and get a shield thrust. And you guys are like, wow, that shield thrust thing was cool. That can be done after any move. So you go triangle, triangle circle, shield thrust, or you go circle, triangle circle, shield thrust. Whoops, you weren't supposed to see that one yet. That one comes a little bit later. I got a little bit carried away. Anyway, as I've been telling you guys, using these 2 combos, you will be able to charge your files much quicker. So if we go like this, then triangle, then we can go again, then triangle. As a matter of fact, we charged them up so fast we got to the point where the attacks were bouncing. That's how fast it was. What was that, like 2 cycles? Okay, so now we have our files charged. Now, I'm going to teach you guys how to charge your shield. This is a very important move. This is something that it's going to require probably a bit of practice. But basically, once you get to this point, what I want you guys to know how to do next is get the shield thrust. So I've already shown you. You can go from triangle to triangle circle. That's a shield thrust. Or you can go from circle to triangle circle. That's another shield thrust. It's important to get to the shield thrust because if you press triangle and circle again, you're going to go into an amped element discharge. Okay? So like this. Triangle circle again, amped element discharge. So that will morph your weapon into axe mode, deal the amped element discharge, and switch you back into sword mode. Okay? That's kind of like a shortcut so that you don't have to go all the way into axe mode, then circle, and then this. So there's a shortcut for doing that straight from sword mode. Now let me just charge my files up a little bit here. Okay, so why is that important? Because if you interrupt that animation and press R2, and I know it's getting a little bit complicated here, but you're going to have to interrupt the amped element discharge animation by pressing R2 when you have full files. Okay, so right now we have full files, so let's do that. Triangle, shield thrust, amp charge, R2. That will get you the elemental round slash. Now if you look to the top left-hand side, you will notice that your shield is glowing pink. That means your shield is now charged. What does this do? Well, this essentially means you are now going to be dealing more damage in axe mode. So let's fill up our files again while the shield is charged. Oops, I missed that one. Slacking so much. And now we have full files and a charged shield. Now we should definitely go into axe mode and wreak some havoc. So your axe is going to deal more damage, straight up, even in the triangle attacks, because the shield is charged. As a matter of fact, if you look, it's got a subtle glow on the weapon right there. It's glowing red, because your shield is charged. And since your shield is the tip of the axe, it's going to deal more damage. Now, if you go into the whole discharging files using circle, that's how you're going to get even more damage. And if you keep going, you're going to get to that super amped element discharge. Now, we only had one lightning this time because by the time we got to that attack, we had already spent a lot of files. You want to try and do that attack with full files. That's going to deal way more damage. So now you know how to charge your shield, and you know how to get the super amped elemental discharge. So, now let's add a couple of more things into the mix, shall we? This is one of the most complicated weapons in the game, so if you have to, rewind the video, rewatch some of the parts until you get everything right. But anyway, this next bit, I'm going to tell you how you can now charge your sword. Because this is actually something that's new in Monster Hunter World. You couldn't do this in previous Monster Hunters, and it is really, really cool. So for starters, our shield is about to go out. So let's go ahead and do the shield charge combo. Here's another interesting thing. You can charge your files. I mean, you can start building up energy for charging your files, even when your files are full. So you see they're white, now they're yellow, and you keep going, and now they're red. What does this mean? This now means that you can expend all of your files, and after expending them, you can instantly reload them again. Okay, keep this in mind. So now let's go ahead and charge up our shield again. Like I said, triangle, circle, into amped element discharge, interrupted midway with R2. And now we already have full element again, so full files. We're now charging the files again. Okay, so Rurikhan, how do I charge my sword? Well, if you interrupt the charging file animation and hold triangle, you're going to get this. Now, we failed there because we kept holding triangle, because very much like the charged double slash, this move requires timing. And if you notice the animation, I'm going to do it again, there's one point at which the shield locks. That's exactly when you want to let go. So let's do that again. Let go. That is the condensed element slash. Doing that obviously deals another attack that will also deal lightning damage, because my particular weapon deals lightning damage. But it now also charges your blade. If you look on the top left-hand side, you'll notice your blade is charged. Now, the charge of the blade lasts less than the charge of the shield, but the advantage of having your blade charged is that your attacks will never bounce. So even if you're hitting, like, say, a Baroth's forehead, doesn't make a damn difference. Your attacks will not bounce. Unless, of course, you go all the way into charging your sword. And even after that, you will still continue to go. Basically, they will never bounce, even though they're dealing less damage. And the guy's like, that last attack bounced. I call foul. It bounced because the sword is no longer charged. Look at the top left-hand side again, and you will see our sword is not charged. If you want to charge your sword again, once again, you go to the reload animation, release it at the right time, boom, your sword is charged again. You can now hit the monster again. So this is good because this is a way in which you can continue to deal damage to the monster without going into axe mode. So maybe the monster is really agile, or he's enraged or something, and you really don't feel like going into axe mode. You'll want to try and charge your blade so that you can continue to deal file damage with your sword. This is going to be very good, particularly with the charged blade moves, the shield thrusts. There's just file damage all over the place like this. And it is extremely satisfying to use. The blade being in charge mode makes no difference for the super amped element discharge. So if you're concerned about that, you don't have to. Let me just charge my shield, which just ran out of charge right now. And we can charge the files. So like the super amped element discharge, this thing, is going to deal maximum damage so long as the shield is charged and you have maximum files. The sword being charged has nothing to do with it, so you don't have to, like, okay, so this time I have to charge my shield, then charge my sword, then do all of these other things, and then finally I can do super amped elemental discharge. No. That's not the way you have to do it. So these are kind of like the basics, if we can even call them that, of the Charge Blade. Another interesting thing that you can do with the Charge Blade is, like I said, you can block. So you can come up to the monster, just straight up block. But there are a lot of animations in the Charge Blade that have blocking frames. So like, for instance, whenever you're switching into axe mode, notice that your shield is in front of you while you are doing that animation. Now, I kind of messed it up there a little bit, but notice that your shield is in front of you when you're doing that animation. If anything hits you while you are doing that, you will block it. And you guys are like, why wouldn't I just use a regular block? Because regular block has much more knockback. Notice the knockback there? Now I'm going to try to do a blocking animation frame. Much less knockback. There's still knockback, but it is much less. The other thing, if your shield is charged and a monster hits you while you are doing the whole blocking animation frame... See, I messed it up there. I did a little bit too soon. But if your shield is charged and you're able to successfully pull that thing off, the monster is going to take file damage, which is pretty damn useful. So anything that hits you while you are doing that is going to take file damage. The other thing that is important is that there are other animations. Another one of those animations is the spinning slash. So if we go like this, and then like this... too slow again. Again, I don't have the timing down for all of these moves, so bear with me here. Let me just get this right. See, that right there will also block it. That was the spinning slash animation, because if you go from axe mode into sword mode, there's an animation at the end where your shield's in front of you. That also counts. So basically, any animation where your shield ends up in front of you, you can block with it, and it's going to be like, think of it as a critical block, because there will be less knockback than a regular block. And on top of it, since there is less knockback, you can instantly follow up with an attack. So like, for instance, if I was to do this, now morph, I can instantly follow up with an axe attack. Whereas if I do a regular block, I cannot. I mean, you can follow up with an attack, but it's going to take you much longer to follow up. And you can see that there's much more delay between you being able to attack again. So if you practice this just right, you'll be able to block monsters like this. Well, not like that, but hopefully a little bit better. Actually, I like the other one a little bit better. It's a little bit trickier. Ah! Rurikhan fails at using the blocking frames. You'll be able to pull that off, instantly go into those attacks much faster, and even an amped element discharge. So, keep those things in mind. Now, having said that, a couple of useful combos. Say you need to charge your shield. From anywhere you can go into the shield thrust, into the amped elemental discharge, into the R2 elemental round slash. What does that mean? That means that out of any combo that you are currently doing, you'll want to swap it into the shield thrust, which is triangle circle, right there, which you can. At any attack, after any attack, you can pull off shield thrust. Immediately after shield thrust, go triangle circle again to go into amped elemental discharge, so... And then press R2. Spam R2 even, to charge your shield, so long as you have full files. After doing that, say you're fighting the monster. As a matter of fact, I actually messed up here. Let me waste these files real quick. Okay, so say you're fighting a monster, you have your shield charged, and you're in a position where you're like, okay, I want to charge up my sword. There's a really good combo, which is actually the combo that is right there, where sword to boost sword mode. That is a really good combo to do. So right now we have almost full files, so we're in a position where we want to charge it anyway. So you can do charge slash, into the reload, hold triangle, let go, condensed elemental slash. Now you have the sword charged, and you can continue to attack the monster. And now you've made the monster go down all of a sudden. Just spam triangle circle, and there's your special. And Bob's your uncle. Like I said, this weapon requires a lot of practice, but god damn if it isn't one of the most satisfying weapons to use in this game. Hopefully this video gives you guys a couple of pointers on the things that you can do with the Charge Blade. As per usual with all the weapon tips videos, remember there's also a lot of discussion happening in the comment section. A lot of people usually notice things that I've missed out on, and they post them down there. And if you have a specific question, like I've always said, the Iron Breakers are all here to help. It's not just me, so just post your questions in the comment section below, and we will try to help you out with any additional question that you want. You guys can also tell me which weapons you want me to do next. Just bear in mind, I'm probably never going to do ranged weapons because I'm not going to get into the whole detail of like, oh, this ammunition type for this. I am not a ranged heavy bowgun, light bowgun, bow user. That is not me. But anyway, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.